My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
Welcome to Spotlight. I'm Luke Haley.
And I'm Katie Blake. Spotlight uses a special English method of broadcasting. It is easier for people to understand no matter where in the world they live.
In the favela of Sao Paulo, Brazil, the streets are very narrow. Many small houses crowd close to each other. There are walls on every side. The walls are grey. They look old and dirty. But a group of children are painting the walls. They cover every surface with bright blue paint. They even paint the street and the steps between the walls. The children get covered in paint too. They laugh and play.
These children are helping with a graffiti project. Graffiti is an illegal form of writing or drawing. People usually create graffiti with spray paint. They press the top of a can and the paint shoots out. People often paint graffiti on walls or parts of public buildings. Another common place for graffiti is on trains and buses.
However, the graffiti project in Sao Paulo is different. It is not against the law. This project is led by a group called Boa Mistura from Spain. Together with local people, they paint whole streets of Sao Paulo in bright colours: yellow, red, green and blue. These colours cover the walls and the streets. Then, Boa Mistura painted large white letters. They wrote positive words of encouragement. So, when people walk into one neighbourhood, they see the word love in Portuguese. Another area has the word sweetness. Another area has the word strength. Another says faith. These bright colours and encouraging words lift people's spirits.
This may not be what many people think of when they think of graffiti, but artists in Brazil are changing the way people think about street art. Today's spotlight is on graffiti in the country of Brazil.
In Brazil, people see a big separation between different kinds of graffiti. One kind of graffiti is called tagging. This is when a person writes his or her name. Or they write the name of an illegal gang. Tagging does not take much time or skill. Other kinds of graffiti include larger pictures. These take much more artistic effort. And there is a lot of this amazing detailed graffiti in the cities of Brazil.
In 2009, Brazil passed a law decriminalizing graffiti. This law made it legal to paint graffiti, but people must first get permission from the property owner before they paint on it. The Brazilian government also set up a system to register some graffiti. Then it will not be removed. This change in the law has made graffiti more common in Brazil. The magazine Design Week said,
Brazilian graffiti art is considered among the most important parts of a global art movement. Graffiti in the rest of the world is more and more the same. But in Brazil, there are many different kinds of graffiti.
One area where the government encourages street art is in the favela. The favela are poor areas. They are known to have many problems with drugs and gangs. These groups are violent and illegal. But in these dangerous neighborhoods, there are often bright paintings on the grey walls. This color provides a more beautiful environment. There are even positive messages given through street art.
some non-government organizations have also become involved. One of these is an organization called Caramundo. Caramundo teaches graffiti workshops for young people. Anouk Pikat works with this organization. He thinks that graffiti can encourage people through projects like the colours and words painted by Boa Mistura. But Caramundo also thinks graffiti can provide discipline and structure. Pikat told reporter Michelle Young,
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best. Flick to link, link to flick.
Here's the question that matters, right? Because we're beginning to get all the tools together to evolve ourselves. And we can evolve bacteria, and we can evolve plants, and we can evolve animals. And we're now reaching the point where we really have to ask, is it really ethical, and do we want to evolve human beings? As you're thinking about that, let me talk about that in the context of prosthetics. Prosthetics past, present, future. So this is the iron hand that belonged to one of the German counts, loved to fight, lost his arm in one of these battles. No problem, he just made a suit of armor, put it on, perfect prosthetic. That's where the concept of ruling with an iron fist comes from. And of course these prosthetics have been getting more and more useful, more and more modern. You can hold soft-boiled eggs. You can have all types of controls. And as you're thinking about that, there are wonderful people like Hugh Hare who've been building absolutely extraordinary prosthetics. So the wonderful Amy Mullins will go out and say, how tall do I want to be tonight? Or he will say, what type of cliff do I want to climb? Or does somebody want to run a marathon, or does somebody want a ballroom dance? And as you adapt these things, The interesting thing about prosthetics is they've been coming inside the body. So these external prosthetics have now become artificial knees, they've become artificial hips, and then they've evolved further to become not just nice to have, but essential to have. So when you're talking about a heart pacemaker as a prosthetic, you're talking about something that isn't just, I'm missing my leg, it's if I don't have this, I can die. And at that point, a prosthetic becomes a symbiotic relationship with the human body. And four of the smartest people that I've ever met, Ed Boyden, Hugh Hare, Joe Jacobson, Bob Lander, are working on a Center for Extreme Bionics. And the interesting thing, what you're seeing here is these prosthetics now get integrated into the bone, they get integrated into the skin, they get integrated into the muscle. And one of the other sides of Ed is he's been thinking about how to connect the brain using light or other mechanisms directly to things like these prosthetics. And if you can do that, then you can begin changing fundamental aspects of humanity. So how quickly you react to something depends on the diameter of a nerve. And of course, if you have nerves that are external or prosthetic, say with light or liquid metal, then you can increase that diameter, and you could even increase it theoretically to the point where, as long as you could see the muzzle flash, you could step out of the way of a bullet. Those are the order of magnitude of changes you're talking about. This is a fourth sort of level of prosthetics. These are phonak hearing aids. And the reason why these are so interesting is because they cross a threshold from where prosthetics are something for somebody who is disabled, and they become something that somebody who is quote-unquote normal might want to actually have. Because what this prosthetic does, which is really interesting, is not only does it help you hear, you can focus your hearing, so you can hear the conversation going on over there. You can have super hearing, you can have hearing in 360 degrees, you can have white noise, you can record, and oh, by the way, they also put a phone into this. So this functions as your hearing aid and also as your phone. And at that point, somebody might actually want to have a prosthetic voluntarily. All these thousands of loosely connected little pieces are coming together, and it's about time we ask the question, how do we want to evolve human beings over the next century or two? And for that, we turn to a great philosopher who was a very smart man despite being a Yankee fan. And Yogi Berra used to say, of course, that it's very tough to make predictions, especially about the future. So instead of making a prediction about the future to begin with, let's take what's happening in the present with people like Tony Atala, who is redesigning 30-some-odd organs. And maybe the ultimate prosthetic isn't having something external titanium. Maybe the ultimate prosthetic is take your own gene code, remake your own body parts. Because that's a whole lot more effective than any kind of a prosthetic. But while you're at it, then you can take the work of Craig Venter and Ham Smith, and one of the things that we've been doing is trying to figure out how to reprogram cells. And if you can reprogram a cell, then you can change the cells in those organs. So if you can change the cells in those organs, maybe you make those organs more radiation resistant, maybe you make them absorb more oxygen, maybe you make them more efficient to filter out stuff that you don't want in your body. And over the last few weeks, George Church has been in the news a lot because he's been talking about taking one of these programmable cells and inserting an entire human genome into that cell. And once you can insert an entire human genome into a cell, then you begin to ask the question, would you want to enhance any of that genome? Do you want to enhance a human body? How would you want to enhance a human body? Where is it ethical to enhance a human body, and where is it not ethical to enhance a human body? And all of a sudden what we're doing is we've got this multi-dimensional chessboard where we can change the human genetics by using viruses to attack things like AIDS. Or we can change the gene code through gene therapy to do away with some of the hereditary diseases. Or we can change the environment and change the expression of those genes in the epigenome and pass that on to the next generations. And all of a sudden, it's not just one little bit. It's all these stacked little bits that allow you to take little portions of it until all the portions coming together leads you to something that's very different. And a lot of people are very scared by this stuff. And it does sound scary. And there are risks to this stuff. So why in the world would you ever want to do this stuff? Why would we really want to alter the human body in a fundamental way? The answer lies in part with Lord Rees, Astronomer Royal of Great Britain. And one of his favorite sayings is the universe is 100% malevolent. So what does that mean? It means if you take any one of your bodies at random, drop it anywhere in the universe, drop it in space, you die. Drop it on the sun, you die. Drop it on the surface of Mercury, you die. Drop it near a supernova, you die. But fortunately, it's only about 80% effective. So as a great physicist once said, there's these little upstream eddies of biology that create order in this rapid torrent of entropy. So as the universe dissipates energy, there's these upstream eddies that create biological order. Now, the problem with eddies is they tend to disappear. They shift. They move in rivers. And because of that, when an eddy shifts, when the Earth becomes a snowball, when the Earth becomes very hot, when the Earth gets hit by an asteroid, when you have supervolcanoes, when you've got solar flares, when you have potentially extinction-level events like the next election, then all of a sudden, you can have periodic extinctions. And by the way, that's happened 5 times on Earth, and therefore it is very likely that the human species on Earth is going to go extinct someday. Not next week, not next month, maybe in November, but maybe 10,000 years after that. As you're thinking of the consequence of that, if you believe that extinctions are common and natural and normal and occur periodically, it becomes a moral imperative to diversify our species. That becomes a moral imperative.
Flick to link to flick. My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.